for 1 minute. Press 4 to rewind for 1 minute. Press 5 to pause. Resume.
Every 5, 10.
Okay, well, welcome to the call. We're glad to have you with us. Hope is joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
So let's get Charlie up. Hey, Charlie.
Hey, how are you, Steve?
I am terrific, thank you. Feeling good and ready to go. Let's get the reach out there for the new members because I know they'll want to join it.
Yes, the reach out for, especially for the new people.
Hi, this is Big V. It's Friday evening, and this is a Friday night call. It's about 10:30, 10:40 at night. This happened earlier on Friday evening around 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and they're kicking it off with a reach out program, which I don't like. So hold on just a second. All right, back to the call here. Let me get this back on me. I just want to let everyone know that I record these calls, and then what happens is I play these at some point down the road for my program that's on social media, and the world gets to hear these calls. So here we go.
You're not going to Wikipedia. You're not connecting to Wikipedia versus neo-tech.com. Yeah, some of you are probably saying, what? I'll explain it to you in a few minutes. Then you're gonna fail. I'm very direct about that. Just buying the books is just the first step. Reading them is the next one, studying them, and then communicating them with other members. One of the biggest things that helped me integrate very quickly was that I did communicate with members early on. I started in 2006, and in 2007 I was meeting other members. And I met them every Friday night. Before we had clubhouses, before we had A-teams, etc., I got with a group of 5 or 6 other members in New Jersey. That's where I live. They would come to my apartment. We'd grab some dinner, and we pull the books out and we interact together for the material. I think it was one of the best times I had for integration was the group of us coming together and sitting around my living room floor, looking at the readings and reading sections and trying together to dissect them. It wasn't formal. It wasn't a meeting in the sense of that. It was just a group of neo-thinkers getting together with the literature, and I had to laugh. We had members who came and had them in these like iron boxes, like you had to have a key to open them and everything, because that's how precious it was. I love it. Talk about respecting the books. I mean, that's how important it was, because in those days we were still a secret society. And as you all know, and I need to say this also, we are not a secret society anymore. We are face to the world. Mark does different marketing pro tools, and he calls them split runs, and we're going to talk about split run tonight, where he'll put down the secret society. He'll say the Neo-Think Society. You'll see some that says Neo-Tech. Those are split runs. Those are all different forms of marketing for the same product. You understand? He's marketing this book now very aggressively, Mark Hamilton and Family and You. I've gotten calls from people, the same book, different letterhead, some different information, because he markets them in a split run, different ways to offer the product. And he wants to see which is the best response. He's a businessman. That's what he does. And he is he's a millionaire world. So he teaches us in the Mark Hamilton and Family and You how to be millionaires. And he is one. And he's telling us how with split runs you can do it. So we're going to talk about that, as I said, in a few minutes. So get on the Reach Out program. Get involved. Don't be in the shadows. If you have not talked to a member this week, I want to know, not me, I want you to know why. You need to talk to a member once a week, once a day. At least one member a day. Force yourself to do it. I'm very candid about this, and I'm very passionate about it. For the new members, you may not know me. I'm a very passionate man. People think I'm yelling at you. I'm not yelling. I'm passionate. I'm excited. I'm motivated because I've made it success for me. And I want you to be successful. And I know these keys work. So the reach out is a major opportunity for you to be successful. Get a hold of Charlie Moore. Get on that voicemail tomorrow. Get in touch with him. Don't wait. It's called InstaAct. I had a laugh. I do the escalating program for Mark. And I spent my time from 4 to 6 to do 4 callbacks every day. That's my mini day. That's why I tell people to call me back. Because I'm at my desk, actually, with my phone in my hand. And a member had sent in a request this afternoon. Well, I called her right back, actually, because I had her in my mini day. It was there. I called her. She was shocked. She says, I'm not supposed to hear from you for 48 hours. What the heck? What is this? How did you get... She's like, oh, how did you do it? I said, it's called InstaAct. Ever heard of it? She started laughing. She said, of course, I read about it. I said, you're right. I used InstaAct. You came up. I'm not going to wait 48 hours. I'm going to call you. And people know it because I do InstaAct. And that's what you have to do. These are the keys. Nothing sits on my desk. If I get calls, let me just say something as an example, because of my InstaAct. If I get calls that need immediate answers, I'm on the phone that day. I make calls after this call tonight because I don't want anything sitting in my mailbox. Now, I have a call from last night. I'll be honest. I have to call him back. I'll call him back tomorrow because there's some research I have to do before I call back. But that's a different story. But somebody needs answers, some questions answered. I'll get back to them. So, right away, actually. So these are the things we want to do. InstaAct. You don't sit on them. Never leave things in your voicemail. Clear your voicemail out every day. That's another thing. It's called finishing it up, taking responsibility. If you've got a voicemail that's filled, do me a favor, clean it out. And I'll tell you why. I have to call people back, and their voicemails are always filled. There are many of them, and then they complain, saying, nobody called me. Can't get a hold of you. I can't leave a message if your voicemail's filled. And if you are one of those who do voicemails, and they let them fill up, that's not Neil think. Take responsibility. Get in charge. InstaAct. Never let the voicemails go last. Okay? All righty. I'm getting into the book, and we're getting our class started. Let me explain how to read it for our new members, Mark Hamilton and Family and You. What is the book about? It's exactly what Mark has written. Mark Hamilton, it's the writings of Mark Hamilton. Not all his writings. It's excerpts. But it's Mark Hamilton, his family, his father, Dr. Frank R. Wallace, his mother, Tracy Alexander, his brother, Eric Savage, his 2 children. Their writings are in here. And you, me, our testimonials. A few years ago, we all wrote many testimonials to Mark about the value of the society and what it has done for us, where many of us are in that material, or in the book. So that's what the book's about. What we're going to be doing tonight is, and I need you to go, and you should have your books out, by the way. You should always have your books out for this class, because I do this interactive, and there are times where I'll have you ask questions, and we'll see how the call goes tonight and see if you need any questions answered. But it says table of contents. You go into the page 5, and it's Roman numeral 5. It says table of contents. It says part 1. Chapter 1 is my secret. It's Mark Hamilton. Then it's 2 is my story. Chapter 3 is my roots. Chapter 4 is my society. Chapter 5 is my goal. Chapter 6 is my gift. Then he goes into part 2. Mark Hamilton's brother, Eric Savage, and that happens to be Global Wealth Power. Great book. I've worked on it on this call already. Part 3, Mark Hamilton's children's writings, his daughter and his son, chapter 8 and 9. Part 4, Mark's mother, Tracy Alexander. I've taught that class. It's a fiery class. A lot of emotions happen with that class. And that's the breakthrough to enlightenment. That's chapter 10. Part 5, and I'm going to start off with part 5 now, actually, as our intro. Please make a note of it. It says part 5, Mark's father, Dr. Frank R. Wallace, and it says Neotech Abridged, because he's taken a lot of the Neotech material and he's condensed it. And he's included 114 advantages. So we're going to talk about one of those 114 advantages. As I said, I've decided, as we're going to be working on Mark Hamilton's writing, which we're going to be on probably for about another month or so, I'm going to include one of the 114 advantages a week as my intro. So he has his father abridged, which is chapter 11. I'll be working with that. Then it goes back to Mark Hamilton again, which is in part 6. My mentoring begins, my lessons begin, my visions begin, my insights, and these are all, that's part 6. It's chapter 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. My horizons expand, and 17, my future. Then it's chapter 7, and that's where your writings, my writings are. Many of you who have been around for a while, your writings could be in here. You would have to go and check it out. So go in the back and see if you had done any testimonials around, say, 2010, 11, or 12. They probably might be in there. And I'd say going to 13 or 14, probably that 4 or 5 year period. And it says, my efforts appreciated by the members. So there you go. That's the overview of the book. So let's get started, okay? I'm in part 5, and you got to go by the parts. You can't go by the pages because he puts many different books in here. So it's not just 1, 2, 2040. You got to go by the section. So it's part 4, 5, Mark's father. And let's see what we're going to be discussing. And this is our intro. And I picked this tonight for a reason. Because I am really dubious about a sacrifice and altruism. I think there's a lot of evil in the altruistic world. It's interesting. This midterm campaign's happening. I'm not talking politics. I'm talking altruism. I have received today alone, do you know I got 22 requests for money today alone? Every candidate out there is asking for money. They want $5 here, $5 there, $10 here, $25 there. 22 today. Do you believe that? That's how intense this is with altruism. I'm not an altruistic guy. I have specific organization, one particular, that I do donate to only because it has to do for children. And I've met the owner, and that actually is St. Jude. And I had met Marlo Thomas, and I was very much in awe of her father, Danny Thomas, who started it. And I had watched since I was a child, I was fascinated by it. And then, of course, my godchild, Meredith, my sister's daughter, died of a brain tumor at 2.5 years. So it's very special to me. So St. Jude does get money from me. And it's a yearly process I do. And my interaction with them is very strong. But this other nickel and diming nonsense, I'm a neo-thinker. I just go delete, delete, delete. All right. Here's what Dr. Wallace said. And you know why I picked avoiding sacrifice? The other night, I was presenting the Dr. Wallace program. John, many of you know I'm on the Thursday night, and that's why I call you Zons, because Dr. Wallace talks about our Zon. And we all born Zons, and we just get clouded over. So all of you new members, don't panic. You're a Zon. Welcome. That is an advanced divine being of mystic-free, honest, conscious mentality. And you actually have that in you. You've just had it overshadowed by the AC or anti-civilization world. But I picked tonight's advantage. And by the way, I'm not going 1, 2, 3. I'm picking specific ones for specific nights. Because I am going to talk about Split Run. I am going to talk a little bit more about Mark Hamilton and the various programs in the society, which is in the literature. He explains it, and I'll go over it with you. But avoiding sacrifice really is on my mind because I made a statement on the call the other night saying, well, Dr. Wallace was sacrificing 33 years. And I said, oops, stop. What do you mean sacrifice? Dr. Wallace chose to get this information. He didn't sacrifice. He's a value creator. He added value. So, oops, that's an AC. My AC mentality stuck up. You know what I'm saying? It came back. I said, sacrifice. I got to look into that. What does that really mean in neo-think terms? And I found it. I always go back to the advantages to find answers. And it's advantage number 15, and it's avoiding sacrifice. So let's go through this and see what it says. Now, in his literature, remember these sections were written back in late 70s, 80s, and 90s. And Dr. Wallace, remember, had passed away in 2006. So these are back a while ago. In his writings, he uses the word value producer. We have learned since that a producer is still somebody that is fulfilling somebody else's dream. So I need you to replace the producer with a creator. Once you find your Friday night essence and you create for the world and you put in your values and help them through your essences, that's a creator. So I'm going to switch the word producer to creator. And again, that's called evolving. In Neotech and Neothink, Neotech is referring to Dr. Wallace, Neothink refers to Mark Hamilton. And we are all Neothinkers now because he's moved the name of the society over to Neothink. He says, as a Neothinker, and as from the Neotech, he says the following: an honest value creator can practice altruistic sacrifice, but he does so always at the expense of his own productivity and happiness, while reducing his value to others in society. Let's stop there. Let's dissect it. And by the way, my nickname is Digger, because I dig into this material. We just don't read this and then just go on. We dig into each sentence. So if you're going to work with me, be ready. We dig into each sentence. So I'm a value creator. I'm creating values for the world. I do it as a life coach, business coach, mentor, speaker, moderator. That's my F&E. And remember, I've been around the game a little bit for many years. I'm almost, I'm 67 years old, so it's not like I'm a 25-year-old. I do have some experience behind me, good and bad, which I can learn from. And so I'm at a point in my life where I've realized that I am in that mentoring, value-creating mode. Okay? And I'm out there working and studying and giving out information, etc. Then all of a sudden, I'm getting all these Democrat, Republicans wanting money for all the midterms. Do you know if I started giving money to them, how much I would have given out this last, even today? And I get these every day, and I bet many of you do also in your emails. We're like, we must be the greatest milk train for them. Am I doing that? I hope many people are cautious about responding back to these. I call them neo-cheaters, because they just love to drain us with nickel and diming. But we have to watch. We earn good money. We earn a lot of our time and energy. And we should not be flippant about who gets what, if anything. It's your hard-earned money. Why are you giving away? One of my worst areas about altruism is the church. The church is the worst. You have to give a percentage of your salary. Who the hell told you that before? You hear this from church leaders. Oh, you got to give us this much and that's it, And I'm going, you sons of bitches, pardon my French. You're liars, you're cheaters, you're neo-cheaters. You want all this money for your own power. And you're taking it from hard-earned winning people. They're trying to make a life, like
That's
a living.
12 Visions Party, too. Don't let them
20% of
fool
their
you.
hard-earned money.
Don't let
That's
Mr. Steve Fagan fool you. 12 Visions Party lie, cheats, and steal just as much as the rest of them. So 12 Visions Party is no better than all the others. So I'm going to put it out there. 12 Visions Party lies, cheats, and steals. They're not honest either. I'm going to call them out on that.
Altruism to me is a sin, and it should not be used. So, and a lot of it comes from Dr. Wallace's writings. I think it's bad, and it's got to be acknowledged very carefully. There's ways to do it, but you got to learn. So it says more. An altruistic value creator is a psychological contradiction. Or if you're a value creator, you're not in the altruistic mentality. Okay? And that's the contradiction. A value creator knows when to spend the money, not to just give it away for guilt or for where something is written, etc. And he teaches, it comes to your heartstrings. Don't do it. Don't allow these neo-cheater types, people who might be neo-cheaters, could be, take your hard-earned money. So that is a contradiction. A person represents a personal tragedy who is unnecessarily sacrificing his or her own work, well-being, and happiness to clever neo-cheaters. He says it right there. Neo-cheaters. Clever neo-cheaters. They are. They'll soap you. I mean, I've had to be honest with you, I don't know how many of these organizations have been calling me. I've had to block them all from my phone. I actually have a spam report. And right now on my spam report, I have 6 of these numbers that are blocked. And they come up in red saying spam. So I never respond to those calls because they just want money. They want more money. They want you to give your credit card out. By the way, please don't give your credit card out to anybody, except, if you have a particular knowledge of who they are. But never give it out on the telephone. Never, never, never give it out on the telephone. So there is an area to look at. Represents the tragedy. Professional mystics and neo-cheaters function by forcing or coercing the creator to sacrifice large portions of time, property, and earnings to them and to other non-producers. Now, let me tell you something. I'm from the telemarketing world. 34 years in telemarketing. I worked in the operations department. I was the head of the consumer division. I was a trainer for the telemarketers. I worked as a sales and marketing man. I was senior vice president of a company with telemarketing. So I know it inside now. There are boiler room operations. You ever heard that term, boiler room? They're out to scam you. And in the boiler room operations, they are taught not to take no for an answer. You ever get a telemarketer to high pressure you? Yeah. Now, I never accepted that, and I would never work with an organization that did it. And I knew they were out there, and these were people who were neo-cheaters. They wanted to take your money at any cost. They would lie. They would tell you long stories. They would tell you, 30-day backup and all this nonsense, because all they want your cash. They want your cash now. They could care less about you. Neo-cheaters, yes. Boiler room operators, yes. Many of the government regulations have been created in the telemarketing arena because of those issues. Now, I was in Washington in the 90s. I helped set up the Do Not Call the program, which many of you may know, and other areas. Well, those were neo-cheaters, because I believe that if we're going to have a Do Not Call, which we did need and regulated, I wanted to help regulate it from my knowledge, and I did. I helped put those material together. So, why do I want to bring that up? When those phone calls come in, and they do, you're being coerced, you're being pressured into giving money. One of the biggest ones is the policeman's group. We need your money now. We need it now. Come on, you can give us 25. You can. Oh, if you give 25, give us 50. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Just give us your credit card. What's the big deal? We can take it. We're honest. We're good. Come on, get that credit card out. Get that credit card out. Let's go. Come on. We need the money. They're desperately needed. How could you not help the police? Yada, 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 yada. Pressure, 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 pressure. Till you finally break down. And then if they don't get you, their supervisor will get on and do it. Neo-cheaters, altruism, sin, disease, rip-offs, stealers. That's what you're dealing with altruism. Now, you'll say to me, oh, no, Steve, my church is the best, and I have to give them money, and the good Lord's going to take care of me, and I just am going to have my place in heaven. Get real. Just get real. That's not going to happen. Because heaven's here. You've got your place today. You're in heaven. This is heaven. Take the best you can out of it and make it the best you can. This is your chance to live and have the best life. We're working on biological immortality, so you don't need to go to any illusionary heaven. First of all, there is none. You're in the world. Let's live longer. Let's live better. Learn how to say no. Learn how to really study altruism. It's a con job. It's a con job. And you're being taken. Dr. Wallace explains that. So when I said he sacrificed, I was wrong, and I admit it. He didn't sacrifice. He was creating values. He was a value creator. And he was spending his time building all this material because his F&E was to learn and understand and develop it and get it to us. And we're reaping the rewards of all his efforts and work. He researched Ayn Rand. He researched Henry Ford. He researched Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Einstein, he researched. He loved it. That was his F&E. And then he took all this information and created the Neotech books, originally the Novotech books. And then his son came across and was mentored by his father, Mark Hamilton, and he took it to another level. Miss Annabelle, the Neotech, the business function, the 12 visions, those are Mark Hamilton's. He took his father's F&E, had his F&E connected to it, and took it to another level. That's called evolving. So you need to really get this information. Stop giving. Be careful about it. Now, I can't tell you, I'm saying stop, but you got to make that decision. I can't make you stop. But I will say, think before you give out another altruistic deal. Look at it. Look at what sacrifice does. We just finished the Breakthrough to Enlightenment, and Tracy Alexander talks about how in the human world, we're taught to sacrifice. The elite want us to be martyrs, victims. One of the biggest things is my pet peeve of people who are victims, because that means you're not taking responsibility. Oh, they did this to me. They did that to me. It was my parents' fault. It was my kids. I had to take care of them. That's all BS. The fact is, you made the decisions. You made the decision to have children. All right, you couldn't make the decision about your parents, but you could make a decision to look at them, understand that they got flaws, and you have to make your own choices. Now, and stop dwelling on the past. Oh, I could have made all this money if I had a better education. I could have done it. It's over from that level. You can still go back to school. I went back to school in my 50s. I went back and educated myself so I could be a coach. You can go back to school till you're in your 90s if you want to, if that's important to you. Stop being a victim. Stop the altruism. Think before you act. Think about the neo-cheaters out there. This particular advantage, I'm going to stop at that, and I'm going to ask Charlie for input. Feel free, Charlie, come in. But that, you get the message, because I want to get into the second part of the call. So avoiding sacrifice is advantage number 15. And it's actually on page 32 of, and I said to you before, it's book 5. And I should say chapter 5. Actually, it's part 5. He goes to part 5, Mark's father, chapter 11. Okay, so please make a note of that. And Charlie, there's a lot to talk about there, so go for it.
Yes, this is something we could talk about for days, really.
Yeah, that's okay. Spend some time on it. Elaborate more, because this altruism thing is very evil. I mean, there are some things that are good and all, but the overall function is about taking advantage. And that's what we have to get out.
Whenever we have sacrifice for anyone, doesn't matter if it was a spouse, your kids, mother, father, whoever. Whenever we had a sacrifice, we were being taken advantage of. It might not have been intentional, but we were still taken advantage of. Altruism never works. We have to always put ourselves first in any situation. And I'm really surprised a lot when I start to coach people, because everybody who I coach has always been in Neothink, and how many of them really didn't understand that concept? That they had, that they didn't have to sacrifice all the time for people. Because it was drilled into us as a kid, especially if you went to Catholic school, it was guilt and fear, and that was altruism. But any religions expect you to do that, government expects you to do that, everybody expects you to sacrifice for them. The people who are asking you to sacrifice are the ones who can't do anything for themselves. You have to understand that. Where are they coming from? They wouldn't know how to make an honest dollar. They don't want to put that effort into being honest. They want to put that effort into having power over you and to talk you out of your money. It's ongoing. It's hard to change our mentality for that because it's been drilled into us by church, and then by governments or anybody on that outside authority out there. But as Steve was talking about the donations for the political parties right now for this election, it came out today that the Democrats raised $1 billion for this midterm, and the Republicans $700 million. So it's almost $2 billion of money that, yeah, I get 3 or 4 a day. Steve got a lot more than that, but we're all getting them in the emails every day. And we've been getting them until it's time for the election. And again, they'll throw guilt at you to do this. And then look at all the charities that come in the mail. I mean, it's incredible. Basically, charities, they all fit under nonprofit organizations. And I can't believe how much money that these organizations pull in every year. And it's absolutely competitive. Everybody's trying to get your dollar, and and some of these things that come in the mail, these envelopes are like, huge envelopes full. It must cost them a fortune to print them up and mail these things. And they're sending out tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pieces of mail. That's costing them who knows how much money. So how much money is really going to these kids or to whatever thing that you're trying to get your money for? And then you have to look at, give to the Cancer Association and give to this. It's all a ripoff, people. And I feel bad for these women on these breast cancer walks. Walk for the cure. There's no cure coming. How many millions and millions and millions of dollars did Jerry Lewis raise for the muscular dystrophy? For how many years on Labor Day weekend? Remember those? He's come on every weekend, every year for that weekend, and he talk and raise millions upon millions of dollars. Is it cured?
No.
They just came out the other day and said all the money that was raised for Alzheimer's, they have no clue how Alzheimer's even begins yet. They have basically said, we haven't found any cures. Because it's a money-making deal. You think the American Cancer Society wants to cure cancer? Well, they have a job. You think any of these other ones? Why do you think there is no cures? Because there's no money in the cure, so they want you to sacrifice your money to give to them so that they can get all these grants and they can just make money, and then they'll come out and say, well, no, we haven't found anything yet. At least one of these organizations come out and say, we don't know what the cure is. So it happens to us in all different ways. We don't see it. I think charities, now, yes, there's some of them out there that are good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting them all in this basket. But how many of them? I know that UNICEF, it's about 2 cents for every dollar goes to the actual charity. And the guy who runs it is making millions of dollars a year. It's a rip on most of these things. Just like telemarketers are trying to rip you off for money, charities are doing it too. The police, everybody. It's just a gimmick to get more money out of you. Also, we can sacrifice, and we feel so good when we write them a check. But yet, there's no cures. When was the last cure? Was there ever a cure for any of these diseases? No. But yet we still believe in them. We still follow what they say. We still send them the money we are just wasting our time and wasting our money on this. Put yourself first. Take that money that you were going to give to these charities, or take the money that you were going to give to the church or give to a politician, and put it to use for you. Come to our next workshop. Fly in. Do something for you to make you a better person. And stop sacrificing for someone else. I'll stop there, Steve.
No, you brought up some very good points, Charlie. I like the concept about the workshop. Put the money towards a workshop.
Yeah.
and do something for yourself.
Definitely.
That's really a good idea. Think about it. Those people who said, I couldn't afford it. How many of you sent out money to these fundraising places?
Well, I can ask the question too, when it comes to that. And it might sound a little strange on this one, but when Mark sends you a letter, and let's say you bought 5 books so far, and you only read 1. So you have 4 books sitting there, and I know this happens. And then Mark sends you another letter. Oh, I got to come up with $299 for this book. And you'll script and you'll save and you put everything that you can to get that in there. And then that book's for 6 months before you even open up the box. Well, why don't you take that $299? Don't buy the book for now. Buy it down the road when you have more money, and come to a seminar that you'll get more out of your $299 than you. I mean, A lot of people haven't come to our seminars or our workshops or whatever because they didn't have the money. But yet they're buying the books. But yet they're not reading the books to get anything out of them. It's just, you have to just say, what's the best way to spend my money to help me? That I can get further on down the road. What is the best way? Now, I'm not saying don't buy Mark's books. Don't get me wrong. I got them all too.
Go on a
Help me
vacation.
tremendously. But once in a while,
Go
you
on
know
a
what? Maybe I
vacation.
should
Go
buy
to
them.
Maui.
You can
Go
buy
to
them.
Hawaii.
Especially if you have 5 they haven't read yet. Read those first before you start buying more books. And then take that money and come to a workshop. Go to a seminar. Do something that's going to help you become better. I'll stop.
No, well, that's a good point. Because it kind of goes along with the split run that I'm going to be talking about in a minute anyway. So let's use that. And then I want to go back to one last thing that Dr. Wallace said. Mark Hamilton talks about split run, and he talks about it. It's in the beginning of the book, and I'll get you the pages in a minute. But that means he markets differently. Mark will market and say, this is your last chance. If you don't buy this book by this date, you're out. That's a marketing program. It's a marketing process. Once you become a member, do you all understand you are a member of the society? You have a book. You're part of it. You're invested. You're already a member. Mark has other marketing tools, and he'll have different closing techniques. What you have to be careful about is fear. What I hear in people's voices is, Mark's going to kick me out of society. Mark's going to not do it. He's not going to like me anymore. Do you understand that's a force of nature? This is a very important factor, and I'm going to stay a few minutes on this. If you're reacting to Mark's letters with fear, with thinking you're going to be thrown out of the society, etc., you're not integrating. You're not growing. And that concerns me, because if you've got 5 or 6 books and you haven't got it yet, that means you haven't read them, and you're buying a 7th, and you can barely afford it. When you receive Mark's letters, you look at them for what they are. They are marketing tools, and he uses them as the concept of understanding split run, different offers. All right? Be very careful about your reaction. You don't react, you respond. And this is very important. People call me up, they have to confirm also that the letters don't represent a book they already own, and they don't have to buy the duplicates. This is very important. I want you to have all the books, because I have them all too, and I've read them all. The only one I'm going back to, and I haven't read it as thoroughly yet because I'm not teaching it as much, but I am reading it, is Neo-Cheating, Neo-Tech, Neo-Think, and I am working on that. But because I do include that in now as my mini day. But the key is that you need to read all of them as best you can. And I will tell you, the other problem is this. If you're stressed, you're not going to absorb anything. This I can tell you from. Your human psyche is going to be stressed about the material or about getting the book or about your money and funds. You're not going to be reading and absorbing. So don't put yourself in a stressful mood. Now, always remember, you get an extra 30 days. I don't think everybody gets that. If you bought a book, and today was a due date, because I got a lot of phone calls. Today was a due date on one of the manuals. I think it's this book, by the way, Mark Hamilton and Family and You, so you may not have gotten a letter. But it's a $299, and they're talking about it for up to 3,000 pages, but it is Mark Hamilton. It's not the Prime Cure. And he says the book due date is today. You have 30 days from today to buy it. Please make a note of that, everybody. This is very important. 30 days from today, you get a 30-day waiver. Especially if you just got the letter today. You're not going to buy it today. You got to look at the letter. You got to study it. You got to make sure you don't already have the book. Make sure you document all your books on a sheet of paper so you can go back and look at the letter, and you should put the name of the book, the pages, and the price. Now, remember one thing. Mark Hamilton never puts the titles of the books in the letters. You'll see title references, but that's not the name of the book. You'll never see Mark Hamilton and Family and You in the letter. He'll say something else, but that's not the title. And that goes for all the books. Please be very careful about that. All right. Now, I want to add one more thing on this, and then I want to talk more about split run. And that's this. In altruisms, Dr. Wallace says that these neo-cheaters, and he calls them neo-cheaters, altruistic mentality. I'm very cautious about nonprofits myself. I'm not a nonprofit guy. I'm a for-profit guy. But I know nonprofits are out there. But be careful. That's all. I know people do grants and things. But he says for neo-cheaters who are trying to sacrifice our lives, and these go to priests, these go to bishops, the Pope. Yeah, how you like that? All these preachers, all those ministers, all these politicians, all of these nonprofits, as a result of making careers from other people's sacrifices, these value destroyers, he calls them value destroyers, never learn to exert the honest thought and effort needed to be competitive. Where they get their money from? They get it from you and me. Create their own business. Why don't they have a actual business with their PACs and all, and make it that doesn't have to always keep coming from us? I mean, the nickel and diming intensity of these emails I'm getting, and I read them purposely because I said, let's see how intense they're going to go now. And it's like, we're disappointed in you. We can't believe you're not supporting us. I was so upset when I heard you will not help us. No offense, but I used the word screw you. I was so upset. You know how many people got that besides me? That's trying to get to my guilt. That's trying to get to my sensitivity. They have no right to do that. And I mean that. By going to our emotions and our feelings, that's how they get to us. And they have no right in interfering. That's like taking advantage of us. That's like going and intruding in our beings. So they have no idea. To create tradable values required to be happy, independent individuals. He calls those people mystics and neo-cheaters. They lose the possibility of earning prosperity and happiness because they put their own greed first. As a neo-tech person, one can not only avoid sacrifice, but can smash the concept of all professional mystics and neo-cheaters. That's how he ends this advantage. As a neo-tech individual. And that's what we have to do. But you see, you've got to get into a neo-tech mindset, everybody. You still can't stay in your AC mindset. So if you're still they have a reason, we got to help them, we got to do that, you're still in the AC mindset. You got to get into a neo-tech mindset. And this is no cult or anything. It's just that neo-tech stop sacrifice. And we can get rid of the mystics and neo-cheaters and smash it. As a neo-tech individual. Neo-think from Mark Hamilton. Okay. Charlie, any last-minute comments on that before I go into the next level?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is this. It's about how to get lucky. We talked about luck last week, and many of you had questions and comments, and we went into it. I want to go to part 2, which is on page 11. Go right to the very beginning of the book. And he says, investigative writer. I like that. The Mark Hamilton, the investigative writer. That's what Dr. Wallace was. That's just what I was saying to you earlier. They went in, they did the research, they asked the questions, they got the facts, they got the information. They went back to Socrates, they went back to Plato, went back to Aristotle, the material. He went back to study what he could do about even Ernest Hemingway. If you remember, there's sections to Ernest Hemingway in the literature. Motivational factors. They did the research. Ayn Rand, Julian Jaynes. And if you're not sure who we're talking about, you got to be reading the literature because they're all in there. Because Dr. Wallace and Mark Hamilton are very strong on role models and the value of them. Good luck can make you a millionaire or a billionaire, he says. But bad luck can make you a bum. It's pretty direct. And what did we talk about last week? Perseverance, fortitude. So what did he say? He said you got to eliminate bad luck and rope in endless good luck. And he says, what are the ways we have to do it? We have big ideas, you have big thoughts, but what are the tools? What are my tools? You have to look at certain individuals, and he comments in here, he talks about Google, Amazon, Starbucks, McDonald's, Walmart, even back before then, Ford Motor Company to General Electrics. These were billion-dollar companies. that clicked with ideas. And you know what those ideas were? Split run. And that's on page 13. I'm going to go right to the chase. Split run. He says a split run, it's the matter of testing different ideas against the control. Now, what does that mean? The original idea. I want to be a effective business coach. Steve Fagan, my business company. Well, how do I market myself? Well, I do split run. And many of you know, up to a few years ago, I was a main speaker in some of the network marketing programs. I was a speaker when it came to working some chamber. I was very actively involved in chamber commerce programs. I was involved with the multimedia. You saw my company on Facebook, LinkedIn. I went into various areas. Those are called split run. It wasn't just me on NeoThink. I was on all over the agency world. That was good, but I learned that I had to step back because there were a lot of neo-cheaters who tried to destroy. So over the last year to 2 years, I have stepped back a little bit because obviously, as you know, my life was threatened, and I had to really carefully watch that from other. Unfortunately, we have some evil in the society, and I had to deal with that. And I stepped back on some of my advertising. And as you know, I took myself completely off of Facebook. And by the way, as a side note, if you're getting any friend requests from me, it's not me. It is a hacker. Be careful. I'm not on Facebook. And but I tried all these different marketing tools. Dr. Mark Hamilton did too, and many of you know he was threatened. He was. There was a lot of negatives about him. So when we step out, we still have the market. We still have to evolve, but we have to be cautious. And what I'm doing for you is I'm giving you my story to say, be careful. You do have to promote yourself in many levels. Now, if you don't have a company, you promote yourself by the organizations you belong to, the programs you may volunteer with, the groups of people you associate with, the programs you go to. Like hopefully with NeoThink, you're going to a clubhouse. You're going to a workshop. I hope many of you are going to be at Patty Barnes' workshop tomorrow in Florida. You're going to these calls. This is split run, making these calls. So you're breaking this up. You're working with your family, your spouse. That's a split run concept. You're actively involved in various programs. You have to put yourself out there in various areas. I'm trying to warn you. You're not in a position where I'm at because obviously I know as being the voice for Mark Hamilton, I'm going to get people who want me out because they want it or they're jealousies, and that's the problem I'm dealing with. But that's okay because I have my protection because of that. But you have to go ahead and work at your level where you're at. Now, when Mark Hamilton put me in this position, I was warned that I had to watch myself. So you're not in that position, so I just want you to know that, okay? You're okay. I got it. I walked in knowing it. It happened, and I dealt with it. Yours is not going to have anything with life-threatening. That's nothing to do with you. I'm at a level of neo-thinking. It's a different position. However, and I always say that to you, is I don't want you to be afraid to put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. Connect. But be careful, and I will warn you, I am very dubious about all the social media. I am very dubious because it's going too fast. That's the one thing I am cautioning all of you about. Don't put yourself on too many of these programs. Don't put any personal information out there. Be very, very careful. Do not, because there's so many hackers and issues out there, so I'm warning you, keep it low-key. Just be cautious. Just maybe do one thing. Don't put too much personal stuff out there. Don't always show all these pictures. And that's the only reason I got off, because I was doing stuff for NeoThink. I was doing videos, etc., and I was a target. So I learned that I had to get out of that, and I did. Unfortunately, the social media is still an issue. Split run, though, as Mark does his mailings, the different offers, this book alone, he calls it 2,040 pages. He calls it up to 3,000 pages. He works with it with different advertisements. These are split runs. It's all very still legitimate. He's done nothing wrong, but he's offering different ways to market this book, Mark Hamilton and Family and You. And he's on a major marketing campaign. So for anybody who's in business, you can do various marketings and programs. However, I do want to caution you because of what I've seen and what I view. Just be careful. We're enticed to get on Twitter. We're trying to get enticed to get on LinkedIn. We got enticed to get on Facebook. They've got all these other programs. Just choose wisely. Think before you open up and give your information. And post wisely. Don't be too naive. Don't be too innocent. But the split run theory does work if you can, because I will tell you, when I was very actively involved, I had many clients. I still have clients, but I'm not as aggressive with my website and other things as I was because I needed to adjust it. But I will tell you, it works if you're smart and do it. I learned through trial and error, and you have to do some of that yourself. So look at the split run factor, understand it, see the value. And that's all on page, let me tell you, the very beginning of the book. It's on page number 13, 11, 12, and 13. You can read that. And it says how to get lucky. So the split run is the key. And that's what he's trying to explain to you, how to do it.